What he's done is truly, truly horrific. But as the storyline has gone on, you've worked in a bit more of a backstory to it to try and not justify, but to explain some of Pierce's actions, haven't you?
Yeah, well, I mean, the writing has been fantastic on it. We had researchers on it. Zoe and I, Zoe plays Rona, both did our own research, and we wanted to make it as truthful as possible. You know, we had that responsibility to our audience and people who have been in similar coercive types of relationships. So,
was that a bit harrowing, looking into real people's stories?
Yeah, it was. It was, and it was immensely enlightening. And some of the statistics are all too, you know, very sad. Yeah.
They're high, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of shocking how... I mean, there is a sort of common perception that it's, you know, the perpetrator is a kind of predatory male after dark, down a dark... It's not. It's much closer to home, and it's much more... you know, it has much more innocuous beginnings, and it becomes a sort of coercive relationship that then escalates into something much more. And
it's sort of around 90%, isn't it, I think?
Yeah, 90% of...
Women will know...
Of the victims who actually know their attacker.
Yeah, there's something like that.
Which makes stranger rape unusual, actually, statistically.
Yeah.
But did you find that, I mean, and this is a rape within a marriage, which... I gather was only illegal in this country since the 90s.
I think it was 91 or 92,
1991, right. Yeah. So that's 26 years ago. You must have incredible reactions. I can imagine you must have reactions from people who've been there. But you must also have reactions from people who don't believe it's a thing, marriage and rape together. Do you?
You mean people who don't understand how you can be raped within a marriage, within a relationship like that? I haven't spoken to anyone who's adopted that kind of
I know
notion,
we're talking to you like you're an expert on it, but you actually learned to act.
Did you know this storyline was coming when you joined the... Was it you didn't know it was on the horizon? So when you first got that suggestion that it was going to be part of your storyline, how did that make you feel?
Well, I felt like we were being gifted, in a sense, this responsibility to take this story on. Quite fortunate in a way, because it's a complex story and it's a challenging story.
It's also an important one as well. And this is something I think that all the soaps do incredibly well, but at Emmerdale particularly so in this instance, because it's a hidden crime. And so we've heard the statistics, 90 to 91%, and women don't speak out. I think after hearing and seeing your storyline, more people will, which is a huge burden of responsibility on the two of you.
There is, yeah. We were very aware of that, and hence so much research went into it, and we tried to portray it as truthfully as possible, and the writers and the storylining team and everybody have been superb on all of that. Yeah, we had to make it... We had a kind of responsibility to everyone, as you said, and we've had an extraordinary response to it. You know, individuals who've written in, I mean, some extraordinarily courageous people who've said, you know, after watching the scenes this evening or following this story, I was able to tell my mother for the first time that I had also been in a relationship of that nature. And, you know, and luckily, or thankfully, I'm now divorced after 4 years. But yeah, I mean, and also as the actors portraying these characters, we're not on any sort of form of crusade, but we are given this story to deal with, and there is a responsibility.
If you know in the morning you're going in and you've got that horrible scene to play, does it put you in a dark place?
Yeah, to a degree, but we do. You were just saying earlier, weren't you, Katie? But we kind of, you sort of separate one from the other quite easily. And we do have, I know it sounds like an awful thing, the wrong thing to say, but we do have a lot of fun on set as well, and it's probably because of the intensity of the subject matter and what we're having to do sort of scene to scene, especially during those weeks where it was really escalating and you actually, you know, some of the physical violence was being portrayed.
Because I know you've got 2 young children. I think your son's, what, 2, and your daughter's about 7 months.
Otis,
so they're not going to be aware of this storyline at all. Do you think you would have thought twice about it, maybe if they'd been a bit older? It's a tricky one, isn't it?
It is a tricky one. I don't know how I would answer that. Probably, I'm sure I would have done.
As well. Say anything to you? Have you had any kind of abuse?
Occasionally, I've walked into 1 or 2 places and there's been the odd ooh, but not really. I kind of seriously, I don't really get out much because I'm either at work or I'm at home with the babies, doing my bit. So.
And I know, obviously, you wouldn't tell us if you were, but have they given any indication of how it might end?
Well, there
of
is.
course he knows.
We're heading towards a court case, as we know. So it's going to trial, and that's where we're up to in the story. And you know, there's kind of a duty of care or responsibility to the audience, and therefore there will be some form of retribution. But I can't say. And
It's got to be realistic too, hasn't it?
It does have to be realistic.
Not everybody's story happens justly.
That's true enough. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I think
That's all I can say.
Very good.